Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. We're going to be looking at a fascinating book today. It's called The Rules of Wealth by a guy named Richard Templar.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this one. Isn't it all about, like, I don't know, sort of the psychology of wealth?
Yeah. He kind of goes beyond the numbers, you know. He looks at the mindset and the habits and perceptions that surround wealth.
And I think that's important because so much of it is, not just about, like, the technical stuff, but it's about your attitude, your beliefs, your behavior.
Right, from the get-go, he challenges that stereotype of wealth,
Yeah.
you know. Like it's all about yachts and mansions.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't love a good yacht, right?
But he actually lays out like a top 10 list of things that people really, truly desire.
Interesting.
And it goes way beyond just those luxury items.
So what's on this list, then?
Let's see. Well, there's things like security and comfort, influence, freedom, even philanthropy.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
what does wealth actually mean to you, like, personally?
Yeah. For me, I've always been really drawn to the idea of freedom. Like having that ability to choose how I spend my time and my energy without being limited by money, you know?
Oh, yeah. Freedom is definitely a big one. And you know what I like about Templar? He gives you a sort of roadmap to achieving that, but he also, like, keeps it real.
Yeah. He's got this rule 6, I think it is, called reality check.
Oh, okay.
And it's all about being, like, brutally honest with yourself about where you are financially, your habits, even those, like, little money vices we all have.
Oh, tell me about it. Those little financial nasties, right? The things we try to sweep under the rug. But Templars, like, nope. You got to face them head on.
You ever catch yourself, like, avoiding those tough financial realities?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, me too. Especially when it comes to budgeting.
Yeah, budgeting's not exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but it's so important, right? And Templars, like, you can't just wish your way to wealth. You got to have that clear assessment of where you are and where you want to go.
That's so true. It's like wishful thinking only gets you so far, right?
Exactly.
It all kind of ties into another one of his rules, Rule 8. Wealth is a consequence.
Okay, what does that mean?
So, we often think of wealth as like a reward. You work hard, you're talented, boom, you're rich. A reward for good behavior?
But Templar flips it. He says it's not a reward. It's the result of specific actions and choices.
Ooh. So like cause and effect. That's interesting.
Yeah. He actually uses this example of Calvin Ayre. Have you heard of this guy?
I don't think so. Fill me in.
Okay, so he's like, this internet bookie built this huge online gambling empire. And, whether you agree with his methods or not, like the business he was in,
Right.
his success was a direct consequence of the business model he built, his tolerance for risk, and the fact that he operated in, I guess you could say, a legal gray area.
That's a really interesting example. And it highlights that, wealth is not just luck. It's not just something that happens to you. It's built. You build it. You make choices. You take actions. You implement strategies. That's really what it's all about.
Okay, so we're talking about strategies. Templar actually dives into, like, the actionable steps to building wealth, right?
He does. And he kicks it off with this idea of defining your why.
Your why. Like, why do you want wealth?
Exactly. He calls it finding your unique excuse for wanting wealth.
That's my excuse.
Love that. It's going deeper than just, I want to be rich. It's figuring out those personal reasons that are driving your goals, right?
I mean, for some people, it might be, like, travel the world. For others, it might be providing for their family.
Right. Or leaving a legacy through philanthropy.
Yeah, exactly. So many different whys out there.
So for me, it's really about creating options. Options, I like that. Like, I want to have that flexibility to pursue the things that I'm passionate about without money being a barrier.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that why is going to fuel everything. It's going to be the driving force behind all the actions and decisions that you make as you're building that wealth.
I love that. But you also need the how, right? You need to understand, like, how does wealth actually get created?
And that's where he brings in this idea of net return.
Net return. Sounds a little technical, maybe?
Yeah. It can be a little dry, but Templar explains it in a way that, I don't know, makes it click.
Okay, so break it down for me.
It's basically understanding how money grows over time. We're talking investments, compound interest, really looking at your return on investment.
Okay, so it's about seeing the bigger picture, like how those numbers actually translate into real life goals.
Exactly. Like buying your dream home or, retiring early.
Right. It's not just about abstract numbers. It's about what those numbers can do for you.
Totally. And as you're, on this journey of building wealth, Templar is a big believer in doing it the right way.
Oh, absolutely. Ethics matter.
He has this rule, Rule 14, don't be bad to get rich.
So it's about ethical wealth building, right?
He actually tells this story about like a major criminal who couldn't even enjoy his wealth, constantly looking over his shoulder, worried about getting caught.
Right, so there's a price to pay for that, right? Even if you manage to get away with it.
Yeah. He argues that when you build wealth ethically, it's not just about sleeping well at night, it's also about like building that self-respect.
Yeah, it's integrity, right? It's about feeling good about how you got there.
He's really big on the long game, sustainability and building something that lasts.
So he's not about those get-rich-quick schemes.
No, definitely not. In fact, he actually has a rule about that. Speculate to accumulate, but not gambling.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. So how do you square that circle? Speculate, but don't gamble. What's the difference?
It's all about understanding calculated risk, right? He's not saying, go play the lottery or bet on something risky without doing your research. It's about informed decisions.
Right. So it's like, an actor who becomes an overnight success. It looks like luck, but it's actually years of hard work behind the scenes.
Perfect analogy. Wealth building's kind of like that too, right?
Yeah.
It's about effort. It's about strategy. And yeah, sometimes a little bit of luck plays a role, but...
Right. It's not just about getting lucky.
And he doesn't just stop at, individual effort. He also talks about the importance of passing on financial knowledge.
Oh, that's huge. Like teaching the next generation.
He calls it start young or teach your kids.
I love that. Even if you feel like you're starting late, it's never too late to start teaching your kids about money, right?
Yeah. And he even has this kind of a radical idea. His 50% savings rule.
50%? That's a lot.
Right. The idea is you put half of any money you earn straight into savings.
Wow, that's a discipline I wish I had learned earlier.
Yeah. It's a great example of how, even small, consistent habits can really add up over time.
Compound interest is a beautiful thing.
And Templar's book, is full of these little nuggets, these strategies, these insights that just make you think differently about money.
So what else does he dive into?
Well, he has this one rule that I thought was really interesting. It's called look wealthy to become wealthy.
So are we talking about fake it till you make it, dress for the job you want?
It's not exactly about faking it. It's more about understanding the power of perception.
First impressions matter.
How you present yourself. It can open doors. It can create opportunities. He argues that, even just dressing wealthy can influence how people treat you.
So it's about projecting that image of success, even if you're not quite there yet. It's like that saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
I actually had this funny experience years ago. I went on this job interview, and I was wearing this thrifted jacket, but it made me look like $1 million.
Yeah.
Seriously, James Bond vibes.
No way. Did you get the job?
I did.
Yeah.
And I swear it was partly because of that jacket. It just gave me this extra boost of confidence,
So it's not about spending a fortune on clothes. It's about understanding how presentation can impact how people perceive you. It can create the self-fulfilling prophecy. You look the part, you act the part, you become the part.
Exactly. It's all about projecting confidence and competence. And sometimes a well-chosen outfit can help with that.
Absolutely. And another key aspect of building wealth that Templar talks about is the art of negotiation and deal making.
He's got a rule for that too, right?
Rule 34, the art of the deal. He argues that real wealth often comes from making deals, not just from earning a wage.
Interesting.
He uses this crazy story about this guy, Kyle McDonald. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he started with a single red paperclip.
A paperclip.
Yep. And through a series of 9 trades, he ended up with a house.
No way. A paperclip for a house. How is that even possible?
Right. It sounds insane, but he did it. He used bartering, he used negotiation, just crazy creative thinking to increase the value of his trades over time.
I'm going to have to look this up. That's amazing. It's proof that deal-making can be a path to wealth.
Absolutely. And it shows that sometimes you got to think outside the box,
Yeah.
You got to be willing to take risks, to be creative, to see opportunities where others don't.
Templar throws in some real curveball stuff, right? He has this rule, forget tiny economies.
Wait, is he saying we should just be reckless with our spending? YOLO.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's more about not obsessing over those tiny little savings. Skipping your daily latte.
Right. We've all been there trying to cut back on every little thing, but sometimes, it's just not worth it, right?
Exactly. It's more about looking at the bigger picture.
So it's about finding that balance, right? enjoying life, but also being financially responsible.
Totally.
Yeah.
And another key thing he emphasizes is investing in what you understand.
So, like, don't just jump on the latest investment trend.
Exactly. He has a rule, only buy what you understand. And he talks about, if you love Marks and Spencer, like their products, you see their stores doing well.
Okay.
Their stock might be a good investment for you because you get the company right. You understand its potential.
Makes sense. It's about leveraging your existing knowledge and interests to make informed decisions.
And another key concept he brings up is diversification of income streams.
That's huge.
He has this great analogy. He compares it to a busker with, like, multiple hats out.
Okay, I can see where he's going with this.
It's about increasing your chances of, earning money, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
So instead of relying solely on a job, you might have a side hustle, you might have investments, you might have, different ways of generating income.
Exactly. And that's where I think this next rule is really powerful. He talks about the value of money mentors.
Oh, mentors are so important in any field, really.
Especially when it comes to money, right?
Yeah.
Having people who have already walked the path you want to walk, they can offer insights, help you avoid mistakes.
And they can open doors for you, introduce you to the right people.
Templar actually shares a story about how he ignored his mentors once, and it ended up costing him.
Oof. We've all been there, right? Thinking we know better.
So yeah, having those mentors, those guides, those people who have been there and done that, it's invaluable.
Absolutely. So how do you find these money mentors? Do you just walk up to a rich person and say, be my mentor?
He suggests, finding people you admire, people who have a proven track record, and just approach them.
Okay. So it's about building those relationships, right? And, sometimes a simple ask can go a long way.
You never know until you ask.
And you're right. Mentors can save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache, and a lot of money in the long run. It's like having a shortcut to success, but in a good way. They've already made the mistakes, so you don't have to.
And speaking of valuable insights, Templar encourages us to develop this keen eye for spotting potential where others might miss it. It's like becoming a financial detective almost.
Ooh, I like that. A financial detective.
Uncovering those hidden assets, those untapped opportunities. It's called Spot the Hidden Asset Opportunity.
It makes you wonder, what do we have in our own lives?
Right. What are we overlooking?
That we could be, turning into something valuable.
It could be a skill, a talent, maybe a piece of property that,
Or even, I don't know, some random collection in your attic.
Right. Like those Beanie Babies, everybody thought were going to make them rich.
You never know what could be a hidden treasure, right?
You got to look with fresh eye.
Absolutely. But, while we're out there looking for those hidden treasures, Templar also reminds us, watch out for the pitfalls.
The dangers along the way.
Yeah, those get-rich-quick schemes. He has a whole rule about it. Beware get-rich-quick schemes.
This is so relevant today, right? Everybody's promising instant riches.
It's like everywhere you turn, someone's trying to sell you the secret to easy money.
The Templar's like, hold on a second. There's no such thing.
Right, it's a myth. He actually points out, he did a Google search, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for opportunities to make money.
He got over 258 million hits. Talk about information overload. But it's how many of those are legit?
Exactly. And he talks about, back in the day, he went to these meetings.
Okay.
Like those water purifier selling schemes in the 80s, where people were lured in with promises of easy money.
Oh, yeah, those pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call them.
Makes you wonder, where are those people now who invested everything?
Right. It's a good reminder that, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Templar has this great line. He says, there are no secrets to making money. You buy something, and if you can sell it for more than you paid for it, you've done well.
Simple as that, right?
It's basic economics, but it applies to everything.
Stocks, real estate, even those Beanie Babies we were talking about.
You got to understand value.
And you got to be able to spot those opportunities.
He introduces this, I guess you could say, formula called the 72 rule. Have you heard of this?
The 72 rule. Refresh my memory.
It's a way to estimate how long it'll take for your investment to double.
Okay, that sounds useful. So how does it work?
You divide 72 by the expected annual rate of return.
Oh, that's pretty easy to remember.
So if you're looking for an investment to double your money in, say, 5 years, you divide 72 by 5, which gives you 14.4%.
So that's the minimum return you'd need to hit your goal, right?
Exactly. It's a handy little tool for, quickly assessing different investments.
I like it. It takes the guesswork out of it. But, it's not all about growth, right? Templar also emphasizes the importance of having that financial safety net.
Protecting yourself.
Rule 91, prepare for emergencies. I mean, you never know what life's going to throw at you.
Job loss, medical bills, could be anything.
Exactly. And having that emergency fund or, good insurance, it can make all the difference.
He talks about different approaches, like having a super liquid savings account.
Right. So you can access the money quickly if you need it.
Or, insurance policies to cover specific risks. He even mentions that some shrewd rich people keep safety deposit boxes with cash.
Really? Cash in a safety deposit box? That's interesting. But I guess it makes sense, right? If there's like a major disaster or something.
Yeah.
But while it's good to be prepared for those worst case scenarios, Templar also recognizes that sometimes you got to go with your gut.
Intuition.
Yeah. He calls it playing your hunches. It's Rule 72.
Those times when something just feels right, even if you can't logically explain it.
We've all had those moments, right? Where you just have this feeling about something.
Templar's not saying, throw caution to the wind, but he does encourage you to, explore those hunches.
So it's not just about logic and numbers, right? There's also a place for intuition in wealth building.
He even gives you, a little process for testing those hunches.
Okay, how do you do that?
First, do your research, then prepare, a proposal, almost.
Okay.
And then, this is key, present it to your money mentors.
Get their feedback. That's smart. So it's like a blend of gut feeling and calculated decision-making.
And speaking of mentors, he also talks about having multiple mentors, right?
Yeah. Especially as your financial decisions get more complex.
It's like having a board of advisors, right?
Yeah.
People with different perspectives, different areas of expertise.
And he really emphasizes that these mentors, they got to be people who have actually made money themselves.
Right, not just inherited it or won the lottery. They need to have that real-world experience, that track record of success.
And as your wealth grows, managing it effectively becomes even more important.
Absolutely. You got to stay on top of things.
He has this rule, carry out a finance health check regularly.
Okay, so like a financial checkup.
Exactly. Looking at your income, your expenses, your investments, just making sure everything's running smoothly.
But how often does he recommend doing this?
He actually says at least weekly.
Wow, that's a lot.
It sounds like a lot, but he argues that, it's the best way to catch those money leaks early on, right, before they become big problems. So it's about being proactive, right, not just reacting to things after they've already happened.
And he gives you this, detailed checklist of things to review.
Oh, that's helpful. What kind of things are on the checklist?
Bank balances, credit card statements, investment performance, upcoming expenses.
So it's like a comprehensive financial overview, right, making sure everything's in order.
And he stresses the importance of understanding financial statements.
Like balance sheets and stuff.
Yeah. He actually says in Rule 82, you got to be able to read a balance sheet if you're going to invest in companies or run your own business.
Makes sense. You got to know what you're looking at.
He breaks it down like the basic formula. Assets minus liabilities equals equity.
What you own minus what you owe equals what you're worth.
It applies to companies and to, your own personal finances.
Right. So it's about understanding your net worth.
And as you become wealthier, taxes become a bigger deal.
Nobody likes paying taxes, but it's part of the game, right?
He has this rule, tax efficiency, and he really emphasizes that it's about avoiding tax, not evading tax.
Big difference there. One's legal, one's not.
He talks about, setting up a limited company, exploring different investment options, just being smart about it.
So it's about working within the system, right? Finding those legal ways to minimize your tax burden.
And he really stresses that, paying for good advice can save you a lot of money in the long run.
It's an investment in itself, right?
And when you have multiple assets, multiple income streams, it can get complicated.
Yeah, keeping track of everything.
He has this rule, learn how to make your assets work for you.
Ooh, I like that. Make your money work for you.
It's about, not just accumulating assets, but actively using them to generate more wealth.
So it's like putting your money to work, right? Not just letting it sit there.
He talks about things like renting out property, investing in dividend-paying stocks, even leveraging your skills and knowledge to create new income streams.
It's about being entrepreneurial with your assets.
And while he's all about, effort and planning, he also recognizes that we don't always have complete control.
Right. Life happens.
He has this rule that challenges that belief that, you're only worth what you're being paid.
Oh, interesting. So knowing your worth? Right.
He argues that a lot of people, especially those working for employers, undervalue themselves.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common.
He encourages you to be proactive, negotiate your worth, highlight your achievements.
Don't be afraid to ask for what you deserve.
He even points out that people who change jobs frequently, they often get paid more.
Interesting. So it's about not being afraid to, like, put yourself out there, advocate for yourself.
And even for freelancers, clients aren't going to offer you more unless you ask for it.
Right. You got to know your value and be willing to stand up for it.
And while he's all about, hard work and planning, he also warns against becoming too consumed by the pursuit of wealth.
Right. Money can't buy happiness, as they say.
He talks about, those get-rich-quick schemes we talked about, how they rarely deliver on their promises.
It's a good reminder to stay grounded, right? Not get caught up in the hype.
He tells this funny story about his son.
Oh.
Investing in a giant snail business.
A giant snail business. What?
Turns out it was a scam. But it's a good reminder that, due diligence is important. Do your research.
Don't believe everything you hear, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to money.
And while he offers a ton of advice, he also acknowledges that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. Everyone's different.
Rule 81 is know your own style. He recognizes that people have different personalities, different risk tolerances.
So it's about finding an approach that works for you, right?
Yeah.
That aligns with your goals and your comfort level.
He talks about, not letting emotions cloud your judgment, fear, greed, impatience.
Right. Those can be dangerous when it comes to money.
You got to have a clear strategy and stick to it.
And, it's not just about making money. It's about spending it wisely, too.
Absolutely. His wife actually contributes this great rule, shop for quality. Rule 87.
Ooh, I like that one. Quality over quantity.
She's all about, investing in things that last, that provide value, that bring you joy.
It's about buying things that you'll actually use and appreciate, right?
He can contrast, his own tendency to, chase bargains.
Oh, we all know those bargain hunters.
With his wife's preference for, well-made, high-quality items.
So it's about, the long-term value, right?
Yeah.
Not just the upfront cost.
He even jokes about, him cooking a thin, sad-looking chicken with cheap wine while his wife's enjoying lobster and champagne.
Okay, that's a funny image. But it makes sense, right? Sometimes spending a little bit more upfront can actually save you money in the long run. And it applies to more than just material possessions, right?
Totally. It's about the quality of the services you use, the experiences you choose, even the people you surround yourself with.
It's about investing in things that enrich your life, right? Not just your bank account.
But even when you're shopping for quality, you got to be smart about it.
Absolutely. Do your research.
Rule 88, check the small print.
Ooh, that's a good one. Always read the fine print.
He has this great analogy. He says, you don't want to accidentally sell your soul to the devil.
Okay, that's a bit dramatic, but I get the point.
It's about carefully reviewing any contract, any agreement before you commit.
Right. Look for those hidden fees, those unfavorable terms, anything that could come back to bite you later.
He jokes about the devil sneaking in a clause that takes away the first 5 years of your life.
That's hilarious. But seriously, it's important to understand what you're signing up for, right? Before you put your name on that dotted line.
And while it's good to be, future-focused, he also cautions against getting ahead of yourself financially.
Right. Don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Rule 89, spending future income. It's tempting to, make purchases based on what you think you'll be earning.
Yeah, but what if things don't go as planned?
Exactly. Job loss, unexpected expenses, life happens.
So he's saying, live within your means, focus on what you have now, not what you might have later.
And he has this great line, the future isn't real until it becomes today.
That's deep.
And speaking of unexpected events, we talked about this before, but it's worth repeating. Preparing for emergencies.
Rule 91, always a good reminder.
Job loss, medical bills, you never know.
Having that financial safety net's like peace of mind.
He even mentions those safety deposit boxes with cash again.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Cash is king in an emergency.
And when it comes to, helping loved ones, he offers some interesting advice.
Oh, yeah, lending money to friends and family. That can be tricky.
He actually says, never borrow money from friends or family, but you can allow them to invest.
Okay, so it's about setting boundaries, right? Protecting those relationships.
Instead of lending, explore investment opportunities together.
So there's a clear agreement, a clear understanding of the terms.
And if you do lend money, he says, be prepared to write it off.
Ooh, that's a tough one. But it's realistic, right?
Yeah. He even talks about his own experience with lending money to his sons. Sometimes they repay him, sometimes they don't.
It's life, right? But it's important to have those open conversations, those realistic expectations.
And as our wealth grows, he encourages us to, think bigger.
Beyond our own needs.
He has this rule: you really, really can't take it with you.
So it's about using your wealth to make a difference, right?
Philanthropy, supporting causes you believe in, helping others.
Leaving a legacy.
He even suggests, framing gifts as lottery winnings.
Hey, congrats, you just won the lottery. Courtesy of me.
It's a way to, take the pressure off, make it more fun.
I love that. It's about the joy of giving, right? Not the obligation.
It's a reminder that wealth can be a tool for good.
And, sharing your resources, it can have a ripple effect.
So we've covered a lot of ground today with Richard Templar's Rules of Wealth.
It's a fascinating look at the mindset, the strategies, the ethical considerations.
He's really big on personal responsibility, making informed decisions, finding that balance between financial success and, well-being.
He makes it clear that building wealth, it's a journey, not a quick fix.
But it's a journey that anyone can take, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With the right mindset and the right strategies.
One of the biggest takeaways for me is that wealth isn't just about the money.
It's about what you do with it, right?
It's about creating a life that aligns with your values.
If you had to choose just one rule to implement today,
That's a good one.
which one would have the biggest impact on your financial future?
That's something for our listeners to ponder.
Absolutely. And, we encourage everyone to, check out Templar's book.
Yeah, dive deeper into these rules.
Discover your own path to wealth.
It's a journey worth taking. And with the right approach, it can lead to, greater financial security, freedom, and fulfillment.
What if true wealth is less about what you accumulate and more about the impact you make? And it applies to more than just material possessions, right?
Totally. It's about the quality of the services you use, the experiences you choose, even the people you surround yourself with.
It's about investing in things that enrich your life, right? Not just your bank account.
But even when you're shopping for quality, you got to be smart about it.
Absolutely. Do your research.
Rule 88. Check the small print.
Ooh, that's a good one. Always read the fine print.
He has this great analogy. He says, you don't want to accidentally sell your soul to the devil.
Okay, that's a bit dramatic, but I get the point.
It's about carefully reviewing any contract, any agreement before you commit.
Right. Look for those hidden fees, those unfavorable terms, anything that could come back to bite you later.
He jokes about the devil sneaking in a clause that takes away the first 5 years of your life.
That's hilarious. But seriously, it's important to understand what you're signing up for, right? Before you put your name on that dotted line.
Oh, well, it's good to be, future-focused. He also cautions against getting ahead of yourself financially.
Right. Don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Rule 89. Spending future income.
It's tempting to, make purchases based on what you think you'll be earning.
Yeah, but what if things don't go as planned?
Exactly. Job loss, unexpected expenses, life happens.
So he's saying, live within your means.
Yeah.
Focus on what you have now, not what you might have later.
And he has this great line, the future isn't real until it becomes today.
That's deep.
And speaking of unexpected events, we talked about this before, but it's worth repeating, preparing for emergencies.
Rule 91. Always a good reminder.
Job loss, medical bills, you never know.
Having that financial safety net, it's like peace of mind.
He even mentions those safety deposit boxes with cash again.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Cash is king in an emergency.
And when it comes to, helping loved ones, he offers some interesting advice.
Oh yeah, lending money to friends and family. That can be tricky.
He actually says never borrow money from friends or family, but you can allow them to invest.
Okay, so it's about setting boundaries, right? Protecting those relationships. Instead of lending, explore investment opportunities together.
So there's a clear agreement, a clear understanding of the terms.
And if you do lend money, he says be prepared to write it off.
Ooh, that's a tough one. But it's realistic, right?
He even talks about his own experience with lending money to his sons. Sometimes they repay him, sometimes they don't.
It's life, right? But it's important to have those open conversations, those realistic expectations.
And as our wealth grows, he encourages us to think bigger.
Beyond our own needs.
He has this rule: you really, really can't take it with you.
So it's about using your wealth to make a difference.
Philanthropy supporting causes you believe in helping others.
Leaving a legacy.
He even suggests framing gifts as lottery winnings.
What? Hey, congrats, you just won the lottery, courtesy of me.
It's a way to take the pressure off, make it more fun.
I love that. It's about the joy of giving, right? not the obligation.
It's a reminder that wealth can be a tool for good.
And, sharing your resources, it can have a ripple effect.
So we've covered a lot of ground today with Richard Templar's Rules of Wealth.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating deep dive.
It really makes you think differently about money, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about the numbers. It's about mindset. It's about strategy. It's about making choices that align with your values.
If you had to pick, one rule to start with,
That's a tough one.
which one would it be?
I think for me, it would be defining your why.
Oh, yeah. That's a good route.
Because once you know why you want wealth, it makes all the other decisions so much easier.
That's so true. It gives you that clarity, that purpose, that drive.
Exactly. So figure out your why and then let that guide you on your journey.
Great advice. And you know what? We should probably do another deep dive on this book sometime.
I mean, there's so much more to explore.
But for now, I think we've given our listeners plenty to chew on.
Food for thought, right?
So until next time, keep diving deep, folks.
And keep those rules of wealth in mind.